If you want to know the difference between Japanese and English jungle cards, have I got the video for you. I'm your man out of Japan, Jay Contra, and let's first talk about some of the general differences between Japanese and English WotC era Pokemon cards. Of course, you have the very obvious sort of yellow goldenrod border, whereas in the Japanese it's much more golden. You've got the difference between the red HP and the black HP. You've got the collector's number here on the bottom right for the English, where you've got the Japanese is just the Pokedex number. You also have some more, I think, what are the deeper differences when you especially look at the artwork. Look at that, the holographic pattern there. Yeah, I think the Japanese is better. I'm just, if you want to fight me in the comments, because look, and especially look at the holographic here. You only see the stars kind of going along those rings, but in the Japanese, you've got a little bit on the bottom right. You got some in the the top left. I think it just pops. I think the Japanese holographics just pop more. So that's the difference in Mr. Mime. I also want to show you, let's sidetrack from the holographics for just a moment so we can talk about first edition. So there is a first edition Japanese base set, but it is not official. Japan did not get first edition Pokemon cards officially until the E series, I want to say, or maybe even Versus. I can't remember when it exactly started, but I'm pretty sure it was in the new back era. Actually, I didn't even show this in the base set video. I completely forgot. But you can see here, this is what's called the old back in Japanese. And they would eventually get a new back. Actually, I have one card just randomly. I happen to have this over here. This is the new back that came in with the Versus series in like 2000 or 2001. Up until then, every set from base set until the last of the Neo series had this old back here. So put that newer card. It's what is that? One of the Ultra Beasts, just happens to be that card. So let's put that to the side. So getting back to it, you'll notice here, this English Rhydon has the first edition symbol, but you will not find a similar symbol in Japanese jungle. Looking at the artwork here, yeah, it looks a little bit, I don't know, I might actually give this to the English card. You can see it's very gray over here, the color of Rhydon. Here it's a little bit more blue. It's a little bit more color to it. I don't know, that's just my opinion. And if you remember the base set video that I did, if you watch that, you can see here, you've got the greater scale of the Pokemon here versus the smaller scale of what it is in the English, along with, of course, the other smaller differences between the two. Let me put these back. Now let's look at the holographic. I didn't notice a big difference in color between Snorlax. This is the misprint Snorlax, by the way. I actually don't know, was Snorlax ever correctly printed in English? I'm not sure. You notice there's the jungle set here. No jungle set here. That was a printing error back in 1999 when this thing came out. Looking at it, there's some subtle differences in the color. It's just, oh yeah, and look at that. This time the English is a little bit more washed out. A little bit lighter when it comes. You can see in the belly here. Look at Snorlax's belly there. Very light, very bright. The Japanese, a bit darker. You can see that, look at that shading. The shading is much darker there on the right with the Japanese. But that's personal preference. I prefer the darker. I prefer just the slightly darker tones of the Japanese. Although looking at that Rhydon, that's interesting. And then look at this. I just bought this. I'm just doing binder collections for my Japanese cards. Look, most Japanese cards are in great shape, but not always. Somehow, my card from back when I had it when I was a kid, yeah, it's scratched up, but it's not torn like that. Well, it's bent. It's not torn. It's more bent. But looking at it, yeah, again, darker tones on the Japanese. Look at the difference between the two on Vaporeon. Don't get me wrong. This looks great. And actually, I think, this is tough. This is tough. I think the holographic on Vaporeon in English might be better. Just in this one case. It's actually got a weird 3D effect to it. You see that? See when you move it around? You get a little bit bursty. It's more poppy over here, but whereas it's more three-dimensional there, I think I like Vaporeon more in English. Controversial opinion here. Goes against everything I've said so far. Let's look at Lickitung, or Beroringa in Japanese. Not too different, a little bit darker, just a little bit darker on the Beroringa versus the Lickitung. A little bit, not too much, not too much. Now, I don't know if I can tell this at all. Let's take a look at Rapidash. Look at that, like no difference. Looks almost exactly the same in terms of the coloration. Let's take a look at look at the hair plume. This, like the colors here are spot on. They are almost identical. A little bit different. Actually, the Japanese looks a little bit lighter. The English looks a little bit darker. Just a little bit difference. So I do not understand how you can get such little difference between the Japanese for Rapidash, but then you look at Vaporeon, completely different. Maybe it's the holographic pattern. Maybe they have to use different inks for it to go on correctly. But then the Lickitung, you can notice the difference there. And even actually from the distance, I'm kind of seeing it now in the camera. But when I'm looking at it with my eyes, I don't know. Yes, another key difference between Japanese jungle and English jungle is that what WotC did back in the day, what Wizards of the Coast did, was to expand the number of cards in the set. They actually took some of the Japanese holographic cards that only came as holographics. There is, as far as I know, unless it's a misprint, there is no Japanese Flareon in Jungle that is not holographic. All of the Flareons in Japanese Jungle are holographic. But in English, there are both. I do not have a holographic Flareon, by the way, but here it is. Here it is. You can tell. Let's look at the differences here. Really dark on the Japanese card, by the way. It's like, and I'm not even talking about just in comparison with the English card. That is dark. It's good looking, but it is dark. Whereas with here, this looks like a painting. Who did this? Oh yeah, Kagemaru Himeno. Like fantastic art. Look at that design. Like I love the evolutions. The evolutions are so good. I think the evolutions define Jungle for me. I actually don't like Jungle is like it's an okay set. I don't think it would be half as good if it didn't have the evolutions. But look at that difference. Look at that. Oh my god. And then you can see you got like the Japanese card that was well taken care of by someone. And then you have my raggedy card that I had, knocking around in boxes for like the last 20 years. Now, a 3D Pokemon. I don't think we've actually, in these two videos that I've made so far, we have not looked at three-dimensionally rendered Pokemon. Who did this? This would have been Kinebuchi, right? Yeah, KG Kinebuchi rendered most of the trainer cards, all of the 3D trainer cards, and most of the original 3D rendered Pokemon in the card game were by Kinebuchi. But that looks almost exactly... you can see here... This is if you're deep into Pokemon, this is interesting. I don't know if you're going to care that much about this, but the aspect ratio actually looks a little bit different. I don't know if this is something that perhaps only I would notice, but look at the distance. Look at the distance. They're not... What did they do? The frames... Let's see, if you measure the frames here, look at the frames. The frames are the same size. The bezel, or I don't know what you want to call this, looks like it's the same size, but the English card is zoomed out. Look at the position of Gloom here. Look at the difference in distance between the edge of that leaf and the card frame. They're different. They size the Pokemon differently. It's hard to tell, but Gloom is bigger in Japanese than it is in English. Not perhaps noticeably so. If you're looking at them from this distance, no, they look the same. But then get them up close. Gloom on the right is bigger than Gloom on the left. Kusai Hana, by the way. That's stinky flower in Japanese. I love the Japanese names for a lot of the original Pokemon just because they really get to it. For Rapidash, it's like Yaroppo, like gallop. Beroringa is the sound that a tongue, Beto is like a tongue, like a blem almost. This is Sidon. Would be Cabigon. I don't know what actually that's supposed to be. Barriado is sounds French. And then showers. That's what that showers. It showers in Japanese. Showers. Okay, and then last thing I want to look at is the Monster Ball, as they call it in Japanese, or the Pokeball, as we know it in English. Purple tinge. Japanese is much more purpley than the blue up top. But otherwise, the Pokeball, actually, the colors look almost exactly the same. A little bit more purpley. But yeah, virtually the same. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so that is the in-depth. I have not seen anyone go this in-depth into the difference between Japanese and English Pokemon cards, but that's why I'm here. I've got a completed jungle set. I actually can't wait to go in a fossil, and I'd love to know what you think about the differences between these two sets of cards, because if I would say in general, I'm going with the Japanese most of the time, but that English Vaporeon, that is such a good looking card. So with that, I'm going to put these away and I'm going to get to my fossil collection. Hope to see you in that video. I've been your man out of Japan, Jay Contra. Thanks for watching and mahalo.